Today is Wednesday, February 27th, 2019. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor, Edge of Extinction, Episode 2.
This episode is titled, One of Us is Going to Win the War. And that was Wentworth.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Why did it surprise you?
I thought it was going to be one of the newbies.
Okay.
That said that.
Yeah. Since we got so much talk in the next time on Survivor about
that they were going to go
targeted.
after them. Yeah.
Yep, I could understand that. By the way, the music that I'm using for the intro and the outros, that's coming from Juke Deck, jukedeck.com, and that's royalty-free music that you can use. I've been enjoying that, and got several others queued up that we can go to. It's more of this music that's designed by an AI program to help put the orchestration of it together. Yeah, that's kind of neat. Does a much better job than I could do, so I'm very thankful for it. Royalty-free always works for a podcast like ours that's running on a very tight budget. Previously on Survivor, over at the Comma Camp, the returning players are on the outs, Probst tells us, and at Mana, Reem, Keith, and Wendy are isolating themselves, which we know is always a bad thing to do, and that led them to Tribal Council, where, according to Probst, Reem dug her own grave. If you needed any more explanation of how poorly she played, that tells you, that's it right there.
So and no revisionist history.
No, nothing at all there. And she becomes the first to go to the edge of extinction. They're not saying Extinction Island. They want to keep re-emphasizing, repeating the theme. So she is at the edge of extinction now, which is where we pick up with her. There on day 4, she's wrapped in a sail or some cloth that she's got there from that campsite. And she tells us that she wants revenge and that she's also wondering what exactly that will cost.
Yeah, she's wanting to walk in and show her face and just go nanner, pretty much.
Yeah. And she kind of wants to do it right now. She doesn't want to wait.
Yeah, and I think she'd quit after that because she's like, but what am I going to have to go through to get that satisfaction?
And they give her no indication of the timeline, so that's just the kind of thing that eats away on you.
Yeah, that seemed to really get her.
Seemed to set off
the
crying.
No timeline on this thing?
Yep, she said she wasn't going to cry, but yep, she's definitely crying there at the edge of extinction.
Well, she's going through things, and why didn't I realize I was being naggy?
And that she blew her chance. Yep, well, a little late figuring all that out.
Well, at least while she was going through all that, she didn't quit. She was weaving fronds, and so she's obviously trying to better things for herself out there.
She was trying to make fire, but I'm kind of thinking after seeing her fire starter that she wasn't successful because it looked like she had already eaten up all of the flint there. Yeah. Having been there, one night and one day? I don't know exactly what day it was that. You never know exactly when they're showing you something, but supposedly that was all from day 4.
I seriously don't think anyone, for any reason, should go out there without knowing how to use a flint. Come on.
It's the same kind of fire starter every season. Yep, there are plenty of YouTube videos if you don't have experience with it. It's not super difficult to do as long as you don't get one of the really cheap ones. You can get cheap ones from China that will just barely throw a spark and then may not actually contain enough magnesium to catch. So there are those, but that's not what they supply them with. So yeah, you could tell she'd already ruined the flint. Okay, over to the Manu camp there on day 4, and it's Show Me Your Prune Hands Day. Obviously,
they've been wet.
Yeah, well, their shelter. We were looking at that from some of the pictures, right? And
it's
some
awful.
Of the videos. Yeah, it's just really bad. They did get some cover up above them, but it doesn't look good at all. It looks pretty sad, and they're definitely suffering through some rain when you're fingers are that pruny like that.
Yeah. So no big surprise. We already saw the preview of Wendy talking to Rick and David, and she really wants Kelly out and sees her as the ringleader.
Yep, she
of
says
the other
that
group,
she blames Kelly, and she tells us that she can see right through Kelly. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Well, and David was right. This is not the place for this conversation. They're like right there.
It's a legitimate concern, but how about we don't do this here? Wendy once again showing very poor judgment.
Well, that's why I couldn't trust her. I could use her for a vote, but I couldn't trust her.
I even with the supposed loyalty, I would have a hard time with her. She seems like too much of a wild card.
Yeah, I think so too.
But Wendy did say that she thought that they could come up with the numbers, right?
Yeah.
With Rick and David, Keith, and then she mentions that she thinks she can bring War Dog in.
Oh, she's delusional.
Yeah, that didn't seem like that fit at all, did it? Yeah.
No, I think she's totally wrong on that. And then Kelly tells Lauren and Dan that we really need to keep an eye on Wendy. She's gonna be looking for an idol.
Yeah, she knows what that feels
like.
Well, and she tells us that she knows exactly what that feels like, so she can't blame her at all. And then she proposes a group idol hunt, an out in the open idol hunt to help keep the idol away from Wendy.
And it doesn't matter who finds it. It's right.
Yeah, well, she's got her preferences, but as long as it's not Wendy, she's okay right now.
Yeah, as long as it's not Wendy.
Yeah.
That's one way to keep the target off herself for a little while, and you got to try.
Yep. All right, let's bounce over to the comma camp, and Ron tells us that they need to dance.
Goodness.
And he's planned a dance based on the name of the tribe where they spell out Kama.
And they're doing the cheers.
Mm-hmm. Which you can see videos of Ron, right? He's famous for doing those kinds of things with his kids at the school that he has. Mm-hmm. So you could see why he might want to cook up something like that. But Aubry tells us on the side in her confessional she hates these kumbaya moments, and I gotta tell you, I'm right there with Aubry on that.
Well, she was, to her credit, she was given a good show.
Perfect. That is, even
she
though
really was, knowing just as much as we know about Aubry, that she was hating every second of that.
Right, and she actually said that out loud to that very fact that she was not fond of that, but she did play along quite well.
Well, the other girls seemed to be genuinely laughing.
Yeah, sure. Aurora,
she's
in.
Julia,
She's all in.
Julie, Victoria. I think they were all laughing, weren't they?
Yeah, they all seemed to be having a good time with Ron's dance. They were, and you could see Chris over there trying to figure out how to make a K with his body so he could spell out.
Well,
the comma.
as you know, I've not been a Ron fan, but I thought, hey, if he entertains them enough, they might keep him around, because I didn't think he'd last too long.
We get a moment with Aubry where she's talking to Julia and Victoria. She's trying to take their temperature on how they feel about the returnees, but she's not getting a whole lot back from them. Victoria's she's like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm glad to have you guys here.
It's not like they don't know what she's doing.
Yeah. Aubry tells us she's frustrated that they aren't showing their cards. They're not letting her in on what they're thinking with regards to returnees.
Well, and she had commented about that's why she likes to go to tribal council right away. That way you know right off the bat where
At least you know where you stand.
Exactly.
Even if you end up standing there for 38 days.
Of course, she never got voted off right off the bat either.
Right.
She might not like it that good.
Yeah. And then the editors have a little fun with Aubry. So we see Victoria, Julia, and Ron talking down on the water. And we saw this from the Next Time on Survivor clip, too. And Julia's saying, this is our time. And Victoria started by sharing with Julia and Ron what Aubry had said to her. I really like you, and let's have an open dialogue.
Well, I think he said it first, but she said the exact same things to me to her.
And you get a great montage from the editors of Aubry doing exactly that. Hey, I hope we can dialogue. Let's dialogue. We could have a good dialogue. We think alike. You really remind me of me. Oh, Aubry got roasted. Roasted in episode 2. I enjoyed that. It wasn't fun for Aubrey, probably.
No, I'm sure it wasn't fun for Aubry to watch.
Yeah, to
tonight,
have her game all flayed out like
she's
that.
like, dang, I didn't realize they were talking that much to each other. Mm-hmm. But I thought, oh, yeah, that would be something to think about. Use different words. Don't use the same buzzwords.
They're so used to doing it, though. It's almost like the show winds you up or trains you to do that because you have these taglines that you give during your interviews and you repeat them over and over again, and then you do it for the press interviews, and it's like all the preseason stuff. You keep playing the same little skit out,
and that might hurt the returnees more than anything else.
Yeah. Okay, back over to the Manu camp on day 4, and they are off in the idol hunt. They're in the midst of it. And Rick and David are wondering, hey, is this just cover because Wentworth's already found it?
I liked that. I did like that.
I like a lot of the exchanges between Rick and David this episode. It was good to get to see that.
I actually like Rick way better than I thought he'd be an interesting character, but I kind of really like this guy and the way he's playing. It could trip him up later on, and I kind of like him and David pairing up. That's a pretty good team there, seems to be.
Yeah, pulling their strengths for sure. David he sees Wendy as a potential ally. Mm-hmm. Right? She lost her one ally that she's extremely loyal to, so he's trying to keep her in play. And he knows that Kelly tells us that Kelly's going to come for him sooner or later, and that's got him thinking that he really would like to go after her.
Well, he's more paranoid about Kelly than anybody else.
Yeah, we don't get any clips of her worrying about him.
No.
I don't think he's on her radar, actually. Yeah. And he tells us you have to be super careful with these blindsides and setting them up. And he shared something interesting there, too. He was building on what Wendy had shared about War Dog being a possible number to help with a Wentworth blindside. And then he said here at this point that War Dog doesn't like to talk strategy until he absolutely has to. So that's kind of keeping the door closed.
Well,
when you do something like that.
My first thought was, well, does he not like to talk strategy? Or does he not like to talk strategy with you?
Yep.
Would be more to the point.
Yep, and David and Rick both agree that they have a similar approach to the game, and they're even making a pact. David's willing to say he'll go to the end with Rick already, and he tells us he's going to keep Rick around. Okay, back over to the
better worry about himself.
Back over to the comic camp on day 4. See Gavin and Eric. Now it's their turn to search for idols.
Yep.
And both Gavin and Eric are talking about how tough it is and how due to the how much overgrowth there is, how much time it takes to do those idol hunts.
You know, this was really disappointing to me.
Why so?
That Julia is telling Victoria or Julie is telling Victoria and Julia that, I think the guys are looking for idols. We should be doing that. Why aren't we doing that? And they just didn't do it.
Yeah, she actually said, why aren't I doing that?
And I thought, yeah, why aren't you right now?
Right.
Why are you not move?
Well, Victoria's got her answer, which is she doesn't know where to start. I've done nothing, and I'm all out of ideas. That's Victoria's approach to hunting for idols. And Julie tells us that it makes her feel sneaky to actually be looking for them. She's not ready for Survivor. I thought they were setting us up for her to find one, but she just seems so far out of her depth here.
That was really sad to me. I don't know about the women on that tribe. Oy.
Yeah, it was disappointing for sure.
I thought the others would last longer than Aurora, and I like her better than them.
You're right. So
right
far.
now, I think, at least from what we've seen.
Yeah, I think Victoria's the one taking, taking advice from her guinea pig, or she's inspired by her guinea pig? That's about all I need to know about her.
I don't know, but we've really seen not much. Aurora just isn't in the picture very much. You see her, but she doesn't talk a lot. Keeping
her in the mix. She had a confessional this time, and where she was talking about the dancing and the morale at the camp and how that's helping them win. So she's not completely invisible, but yeah, she's not super on the radar either. Yep. Okay, back over to the Manu camp. Still in day 4, more idol hunting. This time we're going to tag along with Lauren. And
she's fangirling on Kelly and Parv.
Yep, so she's all about finding idols the way they did, and she wants to make some impressive idol play the way they did. And she does indeed spot a fallen tree that looks promising, and yep, she finds a hidden immunity idol.
There's a spark of blue in there in that trunk. And that was very encouraging after leaving the other girls. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, okay. So
Lauren tells us she's glad that she found it and Kelly doesn't have it, and she's going to rehide it.
I thought that was kind of an odd place to put it, though.
You can't tell where it is, though.
Yeah, but it looked like it wasn't deep enough. If you walked by and kicked at the dirt at all, you would knock the dirt off it and expose it or something.
Okay.
I would have wanted it deeper, or I don't know, more out of the way place or something.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen, but I think she says, I think she doesn't pronounce immunity correctly. It seemed like she was saying immunity.
Well, we all do that sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
Me more than most.
Okay.
They skipped day 5, didn't they?
They did. They bounced right over it. So they gave us a lot on 4, skipped 5. And now it's day 6. We're at the community challenge.
They have a choice of spices, knives, and a cutting board, or fishing kits. A deluxe fishing kit.
Yep. Did you see that big reaction to Reem being voted out?
No, I missed that.
Me neither.
Oh. You.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I didn't see that.
Right.
What if I'd have said, yeah, I saw that?
I would have told you were wrong. There wasn't one.
Yeah, well,
Everybody's like,
didn't remember seeing anything like that. So, okay.
Yep. All right, so we've seen this challenge before. Probst even tells us that Aubry had done it.
Yes, but first, who sits out?
Julie.
The person we perceived as they would think would be the weakest on their tribe.
Does end up sitting out first. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so a little bit of validation there.
All right, ready to go? Wendy is very fast in the water.
Yeah, she did. She outswam everyone. Now, to be fair, she wasn't really swimming against Chris because Chris was helping Keith. But she did beat everyone to the cage there for her tribe.
At least she can swim.
Yep.
And she got herself on over there quick.
Well, the whole Kama tribe just did excellent getting in there and getting the snake out. They were
oh, yeah, they
really just all firing on all cylinders. So we didn't get to see them come in and do their Kama dance. I don't know if they did or not. But you would have thought they might have shown it, although I guess they probably showed the most of it anyway, even if they did. But definitely their morale, they were in high gear as the challenge kicked off. Got in there, got that big snake untied, and got that big heavy thing out of the cage, and were trudging up the beach with it before the Manu tribe even got theirs, I think, even untied.
Yep.
Because it took Keith so long to get in there.
Well, and then it became the Joe and Eric show. They got them all.
Well, before that, Ron, I wanted to say he got really lucky with the combination lock after they got the numbers out of the snake there. And it sounded like he got it on his first try. Huh? The way Probst said it seemed like that to be the case. So it was pretty quick. So they had to once they got up on the beach, they had to drag the snake under an obstacle, and then they had to lift it up and put it up on a stand. A zigzag stand, and then open it up and take out the numbers to be used for the combination lock, which would unlock the rings, the 8 rings that they needed to spell immunity to win the challenge. And it was a classic ring toss with a twist with the oars flipping up with the letters on them. That was all well thought out. I guess for a ring toss, it was visually interesting, even though it was still a ring toss. But yeah, Joe and Eric made short work of it. Chris did fantastic for the Manu tribe because they did get up there and they were in the mix.
Oh, yeah, they weren't all that far behind.
Well, no, he caught up and he tied. So
yeah. Well, I mean, even getting out of the water, they weren't that far behind.
Right.
And they weren't too far behind. David had to solve the puzzle to get...
took him a few tries to get the rings
loose.
But
but he got it. And
they got up there and they got caught up really quick.
They could have caught up had Keith made a few
Yeah, they did at one point. They were actually tied 1-1 in the very beginning.
Yeah.
So Chris had done that.
But that,
yeah,
that didn't last but a minute.
Once Keith started throwing, it kind of went sideways for him.
Yep.
So Eric and Joe finished it off, and Eric got the last toss there. So they ended up winning 8-4. So good job, Comma Tribe. And that was what you and I had figured. We thought they were going to do that again and made our picks accordingly in the fantasy league. So Victoria piped up really quick and said the fishing gear, but there was something about how that was shot. It made me think that Julia was going to say something different. So I'm going to go back and watch that. But in any case, so they went with the deluxe fishing gear as their reward. So here's Ron again sitting on his advantage now through the second win. They have their choice of the rewards, so he can't use it for that. Doesn't need to steal a vote and doesn't need immunity. So
he's only got one more go at it.
One more shot, for it to be useful at all.
And then it just goes away.
War Dog tells us, hey, you know what? We may have been looking at this the wrong way. I've got a plan C. We should probably be targeting Keith if we want a shot at winning a challenge. We need to get rid of this liability.
Now, that's what I said in the listener feedback show.
And certainly we had made our picks accordingly.
Well, I went ahead. I talked myself out of it. And I went in and I did Wendy, and I changed my picks more this week than I usually ever do.
Yeah? You're going back and forth a lot?
Yeah. And
maybe it's because it's early in the season. You don't feel like you got it dialed in yet.
Yeah, or my brain's just not functioning as well right now. But anyway, I did switch around a lot this week. But I went back to it, and I thought, now, remember how adamant you were that they were going to do that? And he's the smart vote off after he loses it for him again.
Well, now he's finally in play, because up until now it was just Kelly and Wendy that seemed to be the ones. Yeah, so we were excited to see this development from War Dog. So we were back at the Manu camp there on day 6, and there's sharks in the water, literally sharks in the water that you can see.
That.
Yep, and Keith tells us that, his swimming was bad and he looked horrible out there.
Well, I really thought he had a chance to redeem himself when he went up to throw.
Yeah, and he seemed to make a classic mistake that he stuck to failing too long. I would get anxious after my second one and go, okay, let's go back to
Could they switch off? Or did they have to stay with, did Joe and Eric... Were they the only ones that could throw?
No, Probst announced right when Comma finished, when they got their rings, that there were 3 throwers. I think...
okay.
Who was the third one for them? I don't remember who's...
Was it Rick?
I saw...
I thought you said Rick threw one.
I was talking about for Comma. But Chris and Keith, we see them throw for Manu, and we see Rick standing there with them. So I think he was in the mix to be one of the throwers.
Okay.
But we didn't see any throws from him, just like we only saw throws from Joe and Eric from the Comma Tribe. But I'm pretty sure I heard Prop say 3 throwers.
Because that was good enough for their tribe, Joe and Eric.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Keith knows to be worried. He had really bad performance in the challenge, and he knows his name could be on the chopping block.
Kelly's after Wendy. Wendy's after Kelly.
Yep.
And then... they start talking about other things.
Yeah, War Dog makes a pitch to Lauren about pivoting to Keith, and Kelly tells us, well, that would be stupid. He's not a threat. And Wendy's trying to target me, so that's why we need to target Wendy. And so I can see why Kelly might think that was stupid. Yeah.
Well, I thought, I watched Keith give Chris a hug, and I thought... well, they must be close. And then he told us the part about he had pledged his loyalty to him throughout the game, and he'd never vote him out and would go to the end with him. So you can certainly understand why Chris wanted to keep him
would be motivated to keep him.
Yep.
Yeah, David was starting to give up on the Wentworth blindside plan after talking to War Dog. I guess now it's time. War Dog is willing to talk strategy now that they have to make a choice. So David has a brief conversation with him and decides that he doesn't have the numbers.
And it's kind of funny because Chris really did that for his own advantage, but, he just happened to talked to the right person, to Rick, about possibly voting Kelly, and Rick was
you're talking about when they were talking at the well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really turned that option back on for Rick.
Yeah,
so he takes that immediately over to David and said, hey, Chris says Kelly's in play.
And then David's ecstatic, and then Keith, boy.
He says it's Christmas. He's
like,
getting a gift.
Yeah.
Keith's on board too, so it really does look like they have the numbers. I was concerned. I thought, yeah, they convinced me. I think Wentworth's going down. Everything lined up with that Chris pivot.
Oh, you were still saying Kelly was going to go after Keith got his third vote. So, yeah, they convinced you completely. Yeah, but...
You see Chris and War Dog have a sit-down and they talk.
That was the thing. He's not as flexible.
War Dog, right? Dan?
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be acknowledging
they
that.
They seem to be tippy-toeing around him a little bit.
To his credit at this point, he said, yeah, okay, we can go this other way and go with Wentworth.
However... he'd rather people think his way, keep her around as a shield.
Wanted her for a shield, yeah, makes sense.
That's legitimate. And
only saw Keith as a goat that someone else would use to keep him out of contention.
Exactly, and Chris says, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do.
Some logic to that, for sure, yep.
But Dan didn't care much for that.
Actually, he said that he could flow with it. He wants people to go with his choice, but he can... adjust, he said, basically. So
he can be flexible, but you notice he got his way. Okay. But he did say if they were going to do it, now was the time to do it. So does that mean they're not going to do it? Or I don't know why this particular vote had to be the time.
It was truly, I can see why they thought it was a great time for a blindside, an excellent blindside
but it's
option.
not the only time.
Because third game cycle, you could end up in a tribe swap.
That's true, too.
So
I don't think
Wentworth picked up on it for sure, though. She noticed that people were acting strange around her.
That was great. Boy, she felt the shift.
Yeah, you could see her gameplay right there.
And she wasn't trusting anyone but Lauren, and it sounds like she went to work on that even more than what they showed us.
Must have, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'd say that the editors had me convinced she was going at this point.
Yep.
Okay, off to Tribal Council there on night 6.
And Kelly tells Jeff she's always going to be a shield, and we really need strong players. She's pushing herself. Keep me.
Right, you're talking about after Rick mentioned that Reem was the only one who had voted for her before, but that she was still in play. It was an interesting way to say that. It's like, well, it was really only Reem before, but yeah, your name's still out there. Yeah. So Jeff asked her to list the reasons why that she's an asset.
Yep.
And Lauren gives the classic line, we need a strong tribe to win. We need to be winning challenges.
And Probst, of course, points out that, the challenge was just that Keith was a disaster,
yes,
the whole challenge. I'm sure
so Keith seemed,
Probst.
Keith seemed to manage that really well, though. He emphasized the importance of the social game, and that's what really helps you win, regardless of how the numbers can come down. And he's pitching his strength, I guess.
Well, he didn't seem nervous. I truly think he was completely blindsided. I'm sure he really did think it was going to be somebody else. I'm not sure if he thought it was going to be Kelly or Wendy, but I don't think he thought it was going to be him.
Yep, so Chris talks about the importance of the social game, even though he acknowledges there's a definite sense to take Keith out. And Rick emphasizes performance, too, that the strength's going to go a long way in this vote.
Well, Chris also said not just strong as a tribe, but strong as a voting unit. Mm-hmm. So that's what he seems to be focusing on, especially after we saw the
everyone agreed that a blindside was coming.
Yeah.
And it did seem like the perfect blindside conditions, the way that was described.
Well, and Dan was letting everybody know I'll know where I stand tonight after the vote. That's going to tell me all I need to know in this game.
What do you think of his response to Rick? Rick said, yeah, you want to have a blindside on your checklist as a Survivor fan.
And he said, but every move should be rational.
Well, he said that they should be rational, and he's not really interested in checklists. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like he's kind of challenging to work with.
Yeah. Well, I kind of didn't doubt that.
And he gave Rick some important information that he will not hesitate to call him out on things like that. So, and that they differ completely on the experience.
It made me feel like he doesn't care much for Rick, and that would have been kind of a red flag for me.
Exactly. Yep, I agree.
So, okay, the vote. The vote surprised us.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
And it really surprised me when they didn't show the votes. I don't like that.
We see one for Keith, one for Kelly, and then one for Wendy pops up.
And we're like, okay.
Interesting. And then the rest are for Keith, which means he got probably 6. They just needed
everybody else.
Yeah, show the 4. And then, like you just said,
we're trying to figure out, well, who were... Okay, we understand, one vote, but where'd the other one go? And then we finally decided, well, Keith, they must have told Keith that to vote Wendy. Because otherwise we couldn't figure out where Wendy vote came from. And I'm sure they told her to vote Kelly.
Right.
So that's where the one Kelly voted. And I thought, okay, that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Right.
But they didn't show us the votes. I hate that.
Yeah. So thank you, Edge of Extinction segment.
Boo.
All right, so Keith's voted out, and he is indeed blindsided by it all. Dang.
Yes, he
is.
Dang, dang, dang.
Double dang. Yep.
Now, my mom would have washed my mouth out for that when I was a child.
Yeah, you couldn't say dang. I couldn't either. I remember getting in trouble for that, like in the third grade.
What's wrong with that, Mom?
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
And Keith informs them that y'all think you're still going to win challenges.
I didn't necessarily take it.
As far as I'm concerned, I learned everything I need to know about Keith as a Survivor contestant, a castaway, right here. He comes to the decision.
No, he didn't come to a decision.
He comes to the point where he has to make a decision, he is unable to quickly, after reading the second option, he doesn't reach over. He makes like he's going to go for the torch, and they do a little camera bob like he's going in for the torch, but he doesn't.
You don't think they stopped him or said,
it's possible.
Hold off.
Although they don't typically get in the middle of things like that.
Well, I mean, like,
understanding.
don't decide yet. Wait a second. We got to film or something that.
They do shoot reaction shots, and sometimes they even have the, what do they call the team? The Dream Team come in so that they can shoot some kind of shot for a challenge or something like that, like from the helicopter, where it doesn't really matter. This kind of stuff matters, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they were setting that up or playing that out for drama. It's possible. I don't think it's likely. I think Keith seriously couldn't make up his mind, and he's not a big enough Survivor fan that was an easy decision. It should have been a split-second decision. No way. Torch, boat, I'm gone. That's the right answer for a fan. I'm not sure. I know that sounds like gatekeeping, but for him to get lost and not be able to make that decision, I don't want to watch Keith play Survivor. He's not someone that is going to offer anything.
Well, surely he's going to go. I can't imagine he wouldn't go, or why he wouldn't go, other than maybe he was feeling so raw because they just voted him out, and he realized they lied to him.
Yes, and
I don't want to go back and play with them.
And he's completely overwhelmed by the whole process. He was unfit to be out there playing.
Well,
so
I think so too.
It's a smart move to make the decision to not go in his case.
Well,
that's the right choice for him.
he might have thought ahead to, is Reem out there? Am I going to have to go be with her?
No, I don't think he had gotten that far at all.
She's way tougher on me than my mama would be. So, anyway, I think he will go. I hope he does.
I think he's going to go and get in the boat because he's going to eventually work out. That's really where he needs to be.
This is what you're supposed to do.
You need to quit because you're done.
Getting in the boat means he's going to...
I mean, he needs to go to the right. He doesn't need to take the torch, get in the boat, and go to Edge of Extinction. He needs to turn his Survivor card in. That's where I think he is.
Okay, well, you said the opposite, I think. But anyway, I would like to see him go join Reem.
Just because they deserve each other.
Well, I think it would be more interesting to have two of them out there and see how they do.
How about this? There's
What?
none of them out there, and we don't waste any time on that segment.
That is not our call.
No, unfortunately, it's not. All right, so I'm, as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with Keith, and the fact he couldn't make up his mind just confirms everything I suspected.
Alrighty. Next on Survivor.
Aubry tells us that nobody wants to talk to her and Joe, although she seems to be sharing that with Aurora.
Yeah, she's there too.
Basically,
But,
yeah. I think that was part confessional.
Well, she was saying at least we see what people's true colors are.
Yeah.
And Aurora was there when she said that is actually the way it went down, Aurora and Joe. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anybody else was around, but Aurora does seem to have latched on to Joe as an alliance. Mm-hmm. So, and then...
yeah, she said she saw the value there back in the first episode. Then we go over to the Manu camp, and Wentworth tells us that she's ready to stick with the pack because it's kill or be killed. And
pack mentality.
That's that was 4 out of the 7 that was left, right?
Yep.
That were standing there. She had Chris and Dan and Lauren and Kelly. So they've got a majority right there.
Yep.
That was the other thing that they meant about now's the right time in terms of putting the numbers together, I think. And then we see that, Wendy's been hurt. Her ankle looked really bad, and she's wondering if she might have broken it.
Yeah, if it's broken.
Definitely purple.
Well, if it's broken, that could certainly take her out.
So we were trying to work that out. Is that before or after
A challenge?
Yeah, exactly. And where
She could have fallen anywhere.
If it were clearly broken, when she heard it, she would have to hide it somehow, which probably isn't likely.
Well, in a challenge, they would have called
medical from looking at it. And it looks like it's bad enough that she would have had it checked by medical. Maybe medical's on the way when she makes that comment when we see her there.
Or she's already had it checked, and they said basically, it could be fractured, but we won't know unless we take you in and X-ray it, and we can't tell you that unless we do.
We've seen people play with really bad ankles like that before.
Oh, yeah. Bad injuries, period.
Yep. Broken bones and
all
things.
Kinds of stuff.
Yeah, dislocated shoulders. All those things have happened. So.
Okay, and then we get one more shot of Reem. She's on Edge of Extinction, and she says she's only had a few bites of coconut in the last 3 days, and that if nobody shows up, she's waiting. You know, she knows there was tribal council. Mm-hmm. She's waiting for somebody to join her. But if they don't show up, she might just have to raise that flag.
Which wouldn't surprise us at all.
So I hope it doesn't go down that way.
Yeah. What you're hoping? You said you wanted her and Keith out there, and you thought that would be
I want to see how they'll do, or if it will, change her attitude, or how they will interact when it's just the two of them. Mm-hmm. How their dynamics change. As when they were in the other group.
Reem to change it at all? I wouldn't.
I didn't say that.
See,
how their relationship will change.
Right.
I didn't say anything about Reem changing.
Okay. Well, you're talking about the dynamics between the two.
Between them, yes, because they were, connected back on the island. But he voted her out too. So, hello.
All right.
She might not be too happy.
So where's this sit with you overall? What did you think about this episode?
Oh, I thought it was good. It was excellent.
Yeah. Good editing, good pacing. Always could have used more. But I like the back and forth, and we got some good insights into some of the social games. We still got some folks that are teetering on the edge of invisibility. We got Julia saying a few things this time. So she's there, likewise with Chris. So did anyone go invisible this time? We heard from all of Manu.
Eric.
No, he was definitely talking. He and Gavin had a segment. He and Gavin had a segment when they were looking for idols.
But he didn't seem to see as much of them as the week before.
And we heard a little bit from Aurora. I heard from Victoria, Ron, and Julia when they were talking in the water.
And Julie, so yeah.
Yeah. So no one was completely invisible this time.
Not too much from Joe. But.
So, yeah, just a little bit. Well, let's see. Did we get anything from him?
He was there with them when they were doing all the
No, did he have a confessional, though?
I don't think he did.
No. And, I mean, we saw him searching for idols, so I guess you can't say Joey Amazing was invisible. He's not invisible. He's important in the challenges, and you see different scenes of him, and he always stands out.
He can't be invisible.
Right. But in terms of the amount of content...
They didn't show much of what he had to say.
Yeah. So.
I think they just highlighted a lot of other people the first week, and they highlighted the others this week.
Yeah, so I don't think you can say anyone's really purple. There was some talk about Chris and Julia being purple after the first episode. But I think with the reduced time, like you said, that they're going to make some choices that people are going to cycle in and out because of that, especially in the early stages where there's some prominent story arcs, hunting for idols, and then showdowns between two people kind of things.
Yeah, so now we've seen something on everyone. With the 2 episodes, I think.
Which is what you should have gotten from the premiere, right? 2 hours? We would have said it was balanced if you put the 2 of them together, is what we're saying, right?
True.
Yeah. And now Lauren has a hidden immunity idol. Go back and check how she pronounces immunity. And then we've got Ron's advantage, which is about to expire if he's not presented with an opportunity to use it in this next game cycle.
So, do you want their tribe to lose just so he has an opportunity?
No, I don't. No. You never want to lose.
Me either.
You don't want to lose your momentum. I mean, it depends on what perspective you're asking from. If you're in the Manu tribe, then absolutely, of course you do. But, yeah, throwing it or doing anything like that seems extremely unwise.
I thought they showed us a little of the tribe dynamics without them having to go to tribal council. And it, it does seem like Aubry could be in trouble.
Yeah, Aubry's story arc's not going well right now at all. Yeah.
But we know how that can change.
Joe's still got the golden boy thing, and he's helping. He's critical in the challenges, although you saw great balance from Eric in this one. So they're just kind of toe-to-toe and ensuring that win. And
well, yeah, but the 2 of them together are dynamite.
Yeah, definitely. So do you think that we'll get a shuffle this season?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even though we're down 2 people, it's not 20. When there's 20, you can almost count on it happening, starting with 18.
I would say not this coming week, but probably by week 4. Don't you think they'll do some kind of shuffle, even if it's just a few people they shuffle around? Or
yeah, you don't want to get too complacent, just like redraw the 2 tribes. You mean?
Yeah, something
shuffle
like
it
that.
Way. Not go to a 3, yeah.
I don't think they'll go to a 3 with these numbers. I mean, they could, but I wouldn't like to say. I mean, when they get to 15, they could easily, make that split and go to 3. But I'd rather they didn't. But that may not mean anything.
Yeah, a reshuffle of the tribes seems like it's a possibility, though.
Yeah, it could
into
be.
The 2 tribes. Good deal. All right, well, we're looking forward to hearing what you thought about this episode. But before we get to that, let's do we did Next Time on Survivor, let's do a JSFL update real quick.
You're right.
Yep,
we did not do that. I did not turn the page. So I would have missed that.
All right.
Okay, there were 43 people tied for first place in JSFL. 7 people lost their USB 24. 62 people lost a safe point, and congratulations to the 86 people who earned a vote-off point.
Hey, we were part of that.
We were. I've almost forgotten that already. For the side challengers, with 11 points, tied for first, Iron Dave, Jack, and Stacy. And with 10 points, Jeremiah, Randy, Slappy McGee. And with 8 points, Brandon, Cold Mike, Drew, James and Shannon, Jonathan and Parker. With 7 points, Jay Kindred. And with 6, Brad.
All right. There we go. Starting to spread out a little in the side challenge range.
Yep. Congrats, baby.
What's that?
You got full points this season.
2 in a row.
You are 2 points ahead of me. That's just tragic.
Now you guys hear the real gist of it. That's what it's always about.
Well, good job.
Yep, thanks.
You did it.
I did. I did indeed. And now we're looking forward to your thoughts on episode 2 and predictions for what we might expect next. You really think Joe and Aubry are in danger with them winning? Was the winning going to continue? Our voicemail line, 206-350-1547, toll free, 844-643-8737. That's the quickest, easiest way to get feedback in. You can also jot it down in an email and send it to us at joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com, and either Joanne or I will read it into the listener feedback show for you. Or if you want the most control over the overall quality of it, you can record it yourself and send it as an email attachment. And then we'll get it into the show. It's due noon Pacific time on Saturday. Keep it under 3 minutes. We'll get that put together and get that out for you on Saturday. And then we can do some deeper analysis after that.
Yes, and the sooner the better, because you have a performance Saturday, so we're going to have to get done early as we can. So.
Yes, yeah, otherwise it'll be a long day, huh?
Yeah. We don't usually get it together that early, so the sooner the better, thanks.
Yes, I would appreciate that. People have been doing great with getting it in early, so keep it up. Good job, and quality's outstanding. So I'm looking forward to hearing from everyone. There's definitely some folks I hadn't heard from, so I'd like to have your voices in the show.
We miss you.
Written or audio. Yeah, we'd like to have you back in there. Anything
or
else
even just a quick email to say, still here listening.
Yeah, that's true. Always good. Always good to hear from you. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right, have a good one.